Hi folks, this is Zeke with Muddy River Fishing Buddies, and today I would like to show you guys how I built a brooder and explain to you how to build a brooder for any of those out there that need a brooder. I've started to raise quail again, and I need a brooder, after the eggs hatch and get them out of the incubator, so I put them in a brooder. But it's good for quail, for basically any kind of poultry that you have to keep warm for a certain amount of time. And now I'd like to show you how I did it. Okay, I've built my brooder box. It's a 3-compartment box, and it's about 6 feet 2 inches long. It's 33 inches wide at the bottom, and it's about 26 inches tall at the back. But I've put this front door at an angle just to make it convenient to get inside and outside of it. Inside the brooder box, I had this piece of plastic, this blue plastic that you're seeing here. Was actually an old swimming pool, one of those kind that just has a liner around the outside that was that hard plastic. I put that down in there just to help clean it out, and whenever it makes it cleaning it easier, and the boards on the bottom don't rot as quick. Now what I've done is I made a 2x2 frame. I cut a 2x4, ripped it in half, made a frame to fit my bottom, and right at the middle of both of these where the dividers are, I have another brace or like a joist underneath it, and then I put 3/8 plywood on top of that to make the floor, and then I put the blue plastic on top of that. My sides, I basically just cut the side that I wanted, and then the back is just a sheet of 3/8 plywood. Then inside I put this cleat, which is a 3/4 board, ripped it 3/4 by 3/4. I put it up and I screw it from both ways, from the back side and from this side in. I did that on both ends. Just same thing, and then when I did my dividers, basically just did the same thing. You just outline it with a cleat, a strip, and you can nail or screw to however you see fit. That's the way that I did that. At the top I put a 2x4, basically so I can have my door on that, and you see that right here. It's just a 2x4 in between each divider. I did the same thing at the bottom of each hole. I put a 2x4 across here so the door could rest on that, give it some stability also. On the front I made a slider, the door to slide off like that, and it's easier to just rake the shavings out when you have shavings in there. I use pine shavings for quail. It's recommended for respiratory reasons, and that goes in and out relatively easy. And I did the same thing with the 3/4 strips on that just to give it some stability. I made the doors, put the hinges at the top so I can open them and let them stay like that, and they're not in my way when I'm working with the birds in here. Now since I have quail, I put a screen, I cut a hole in the middle, put a screen on it, trimmed it around with these boards, because the quail that I use, in about 3.5 weeks, they can fly, and they pop straight up like popcorn when they start flying. And without something on here, they'd come right out when you open that up. And also, if you use chickens, or if you have chickens or ducks or whatever other poultry you have that don't fly like a quail, when you put the lid back in here, sometimes you want to leave that open or leave it out. If it's in the summertime or something where it gets too hot in there, you can leave that out for the air to come in. If you've noticed, my lights are going off and on because I have a thermostat hooked to this. In each bay I put a box with a keyless fixture, and this one is actually a 125 watt bulb, a brooder bulb. I got them at Tractor Supply. This one, which has the birds in it now, I just put these in. These were about 8 days old. I got a 250 watt bulb in there, the one that I had, but it's basically, they're all three the same way. There's my thermostat. And all that is the lower thermostat on a water heater. I set it for 90 degrees to go off and on around 90 degrees, and it'll get under the bulb. It gets hotter than it does around the outside, so if they're real cold they can go under the bulb. If they're not, they go out around the edge of it. I wired this so that each compartment has a switch. This works the first compartment, this works the middle compartment, and then over here this one by itself works the third compartment. And the reason that I did that is because I don't always have birds in all of them. I put the thermostat in the middle because that one, anytime that I've got birds in here, I will start with them in the middle compartment. That way it regulates the heat in that one. Now that thermostat works all of the bulbs, so they all come on and go off at the same time. But so therefore whenever I put birds in the other two, it'll still work with the same thermostat, and they'll still stay the same temperature. And this is basically just a 4-inch square box with 2 switches, and that's a handy box with a switch. I ran just a drop cord or a cord with a plug on the end of it to get my feed. If you want to know how to wire it, you don't know how to wire it, basically I take the hot wire, the black wire that's in the cord, and what I do is it needs to run to your thermostat, one side of the thermostat. You come back from the other side of the thermostat into this box, and that'll be the feed to each side, or to one side of each one of the switches. That'll feed the switches hot. You run a wire to each light, which is 2 wires, a black and a white, and you hook all the whites together. The white from the cord, the white from each light will hook together, and then the black wire that comes from number 1 bulb will go to number 1 switch. The black from the middle one goes to the number 2 switch, and then the black wires coming from this bulb will go to the switch for that one. And that's all it is. It's pretty simple. If you have any questions, you can just leave comments and I'll answer the questions. Put this little knob on here just to make it convenient to lift them up. But that's a brooder. It's not that heavy. It probably weighs maybe 100 pounds, maybe, without the birds in it. It might be 100 pounds and 4 ounces with the birds. But other than that, this is a brooder. I've built several of them. They work great. I like the thermostats, that way it doesn't get too hot in there and cook your birds. And had good success with it. If you have any questions, leave a comment. If you like this video, we'd ask that you to like it on here and then subscribe to our page. And I'm all the time coming up with something to build, something that I need or something that I want, and I'll be glad to share those things and help you out. Thank you.